Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me with this Pilates weights session today. I like working with weights from time to time, as you probably already know. They are great for increasing the intensity of any session that you're doing. They're also obviously really good at helping improve our strength, but they also add in an extra dimension of feedback when we're doing movement-based exercises, so rather than static positional exercises, so movement exercises. And this is really helpful if we are working on things like our contact. So as riders, a very, very useful adjunct to any of the normal exercises that you are doing. So let's just make sure everything is moving nice and freely before we get going. I'd like you sitting, if you can, cross-legged, otherwise frog's legs is absolutely fine, or on a cushion if you need to be. Just make sure that your seat bones are equal with however you are sitting, and try to have your spine elastic and up tall. Then pop your arms across your chest, and we're going to turn shoulders from side to side. This is really just to make sure that everything is moving freely before you really start working. As you're turning, keep your shoulders level and try to feel that your seat bone pressure stays really equal. Okay, then face the front, relax your arms, and then some nice big shoulder rolls up, back and down. Really get rid of any tension, but also get the whole shoulder area on the move before we start to work the muscles around the area a little bit harder. Okie doke. We are now going to go down onto your back. We're going to start off in the shoulder bridge position. We'll do a couple without the weights to get you going. So just have your weights handy. Remember, you don't need to be using weights. You can be using anything you like. Tin of baked beans, tin of soup, anything like that is absolutely fine. So we'll just start off a couple without the weights. Bring your feet a little bit closer towards your bottom than you think you need to have them. Start with your back and your tummy and your pelvis in that nice neutral position, wherever feels comfortable for you. Bring your pelvic floor lift up onto floor 3. Then you're imprinting your low back into your mat and heeling up each vertebra one at a time until you get to the top of your bridge. Remember, you want a straight line from shoulders, headlights to knees. Careful not to be arching like this. That just tends to make you hinge through your low back and lock up through your low back muscles. So instead, we're looking for that nice smooth peeling up, stopping at around that straight position, not overarching, making sure you're relaxed and able to breathe here before you come back down each vertebra in turn through your imprint. We'll do one more just like that. Okay, then you're going to take your weights, and I'd like you to start off with just having them resting onto your tummy, wherever feels comfortable around your low tummy over your pelvis. You're going to keep your hands there as well, and off you go again. So it's pelvic floor to start you, imprint, and then you're peeling up, relaxing at the top, coming back down through that imprint. Now, I'm not using particularly heavy weights today. Sometimes I work with much heavier weights, it just depends. These ones are 1 kilogram, so you can go with whatever you want. But what you do want to feel when you're doing this version of the exercise is that your hands are just holding the weights in position. It's not that your hands are holding the weight of the weights. You want the muscles around your pelvis and your hips to be the ones that are just feeling that extra weight. And because the muscles around here are pretty big and strong, they're not going to notice a huge difference if you're using lighter weights. But if you're doing this with more like 3, 4, 5 kilogram weights, then you'll certainly start to notice the difference. But what you're really trying to do is make sure that even with that extra weight, you can still get that nice control, particularly at the start and the finish, particularly through your imprints. Okay, we're now going to change and have your hands pointing up to the ceiling. So you want your hands above your shoulders. And off you go again. And so now your weights have changed position, they're over your shoulders, so your pelvis is back to moving freely with no extra effort. But instead, your focus is on keeping your hands absolutely still, even though those muscles down through your arms and into your shoulders are having to hold you against those weights. And again, with the lighter weights, it's definitely much easier. If you're using heavier weights with this, you'll find this significantly harder. But I think if you're starting with weights at all, then starting off with light is always sensible, not just for the obvious reasons of it's harder to lift heavier weights, but even for simple, what seems to be a simple exercise like this, it's much harder with heavier weights. Then you're going to see if you can stay in this position and keep your hands nice and still, even with those weights in position, while you do a few of your little hip dips. And I can absolutely testify doing this with the heavier weights in your hands is really hard. But this is why I love doing these kind of exercises for developing the contact. It just makes it such an extra dimension of strength and control around the upper body without actually having to do anything. I'm keeping my hands very light and soft, not doing anything particularly strong and strenuous with my hands, but they're still having to work quite hard right down through to my shoulders. Okay, then we're going to come back down, and then you're going to bring your arms back down. We're going to turn onto your front, and we're going to have a go doing your hundreds. So you can choose which position you do with your hundreds depending on how strong you are feeling. I will show you 2 different positions that you can do. We'll start off with your arms by your sides. Now, whichever one you're going to do, you want your shoulder blades back and down and your tummy just lightly away from that imaginary puddle of water underneath you. That just means that you're gently setting your spine in a fairly neutral position. You're not sinking down into the floor and arching and hollowing through your back. So just lightly lifted away through the tummy and through the shoulders. Pelvic floor onto floor 3, and we're going to start patting the floor by your sides. Now you'll notice that my weights are downwards. I haven't got them this way, haven't got them that way. This does put the shoulder joint into a slightly more mechanically efficient position. It's a little bit more comfortable. If that's easy, you can have a go out to the side as well. Now, hopefully my left hand is still visible. What you're doing here is obviously you're making your levers much longer because your arms are out to the side, so it is much harder, and you may find that you don't want to do anything like as many of those. Whichever one you're doing, try to keep your hands quite soft. So think about when you are in the saddle, even when you're holding the reins, you want to keep your hands quite soft. You're not trying to grip really hard. So yes, you've got to grip hard enough to be able to hold the weight or whatever you're using in position, but not clinging on for dear life. The work is coming through your shoulders, down through your biceps and through your triceps. Okay, we've done enough of those. We're going to turn back onto your back and have a go at doing your scissors. This is quite a nice little tricky exercise to be doing. And we will start off just with your legs to begin with. So if you're going to go from the floor, you're bringing one leg up to tabletop, back down, and the other leg up to tabletop and back down. If you're going to go from tabletop, you're doing it in the reverse. Think ribs to pelvis, so this bit is nice and set. One foot down and back up, and the other foot down and back up. So we're going to add in the weights. I'm going to show you the floor version first of all. You're going to move opposite arm and leg in the same direction at the same time. Now yes, I do have bushes behind me, so that automatically makes my arm go a little bit less far, but you don't want to be trying to make these movements too big anyway. Let's go the opposite for your tabletop version. Now you've got opposite arm and leg going in opposite directions. The challenge you've got now is not only to be controlling through your hips with what your legs are up to, you've got to control one arm as it's gently on the move and try to keep the other arm really still. So this is a double wine glass exercise, keeping leg and arm still as the opposite arm and leg are on the go. And this again is one of those that gets harder. The heavier the weights, the harder it is not just to control the movement, but to keep the arm that is still, absolutely still. Let's make that one your last one. Bring your legs down one at a time, bring your arms back down. We're now going to go onto your hands and knees. I'm going to do one of my favourite exercises of all time. We are going to do threading the needle. Now if you've got weights like I have, the dumbbell type, you can of course have your hand around the weights and just be resting in this position. If you're using a tin of beans or something, I appreciate you probably want to have your hands flat and then swap that way. It's just not quite so smooth, but dumbbells are a little bit smoother for this one. But see how you get on. So you're going to start with your hands under your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips. You're taking one hand up, look at your hand, come back down. Then the same the other way. Hand up, look at the hand, come back down. Try whatever kind of weight you are using to make sure that your thumb is leading the way. And this again is down to the mechanics of the shoulder. It is more efficient and is also more comfortable. You'll probably find that even if you can do this exercise very equally normally, that by doing this with the weights, you don't go anything like as far. This is a really good way of showing up weaknesses or asymmetries in your strength that you didn't know you had. Last one each way. Okie doke. We are now going to come up into standing. With your weights, we are going to do some lunges. I'm going to be a little bit careful because it's been raining a lot here recently and the ground is very, very wet. We're going to do your lunges in two different ways. Starting first of all, hands up in front as if you're holding reins, and you're going to be going forwards, down into a dip, come back up, towards the other foot, down into a dip, come back up. As you are going, your hands stay completely still. So we're thinking about that independence of contact, independence of seat. Whatever's going on in the lower half of your body shouldn't be impacting on the upper half and vice versa. So the side view, let's see if I don't go skating, should be like this. Shoulders staying over your headlights, hands staying level and completely still. You can change it. And you can go with your weights down by your side. So this way, particularly if your arms are starting to get a little bit tired, you're getting the same load through your legs, you're getting the same strengthening benefit for your lower body, but your arms are just having a little bit of a breather. So it's a nice way of being able to keep going with the reps for the overall strengthening, but just giving your upper body a little bit of a rest and making sure you can keep nice and relaxed as you go. Okie doke. Right, let's go into some squats instead. Have your feet a little bit wider than perhaps you would have them normally. Hands up in front once again. We're going to start off some nice simple squats. Once again thinking hands are level, nice equal pretend contact that you've got there. Okay, then we're going to turn this into a give and we take of the reins. So as you go down to your squats, hands go forwards and they come up as you come up. Try not to be staring at your hands. You know how when you're in the saddle you want to be looking out between your horse's ears and not down at your hands. Exactly the same here. This is the advantage of having nice brightly coloured weights. It's a bit like using a resistance band. I can see exactly what's happening without having to look. So I can see that pretty well my hands are staying level all the way through. Do a couple more. Super job. Okay, let's pop those down. I'm never keen on doing really long weight sessions, particularly if you're not used to using them that much, because you can actually really easily overdo it, so it's better to keep it short and sweet. So let's have a little walk on the spot, and then let's add in the arms. So you're doing opposite arms and legs, so just start to let your arms and legs just loosen off and relax. Okay, then bring your feet back underneath you. And we'll loosen off again with some of those shoulder rolls that we did right back at the beginning. Make sure you're not carrying any tension, particularly from those last couple of exercises where you were holding your contact very steady against the weights. Okay, then make sure your knees are soft. Bring one up, arm up, get the teeth in. One arm up for a big breath in. Breathe out, take your arm down and round and come back up. Big breath in and breathe out. Big breath in. Breathe out. Bring that arm back down by your side. Keep the knees soft as you go with the other arm. Big breath in and out. Big breath in and out. Last one. And out. And then bring your arms back down by your side. Make sure your feet are nice and equal underneath you. No tension through your shoulders, and you're breathing nice regular deep breaths into the base of your lungs. We're stopping there. As I said, I don't like these sessions to be too long. It's so easy to overdo it, but I do think bringing weights in along with things like the resistance band on a fairly regular basis just adds a really useful dimension, because we get that strength through movement, you get so much positional feedback, improving your positional awareness, and that has to help our contact. So if you found any of these particularly useful, particularly beneficial at highlighting differences between your left and right, make sure that you are doing either this session or those specific exercises on a much more regular basis for the next couple of months. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it enjoyable. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will see you very soon. Bye bye.